So we are looking at the chapter questions for chapter 15 of A Long Walk to Water. Now, this question, who were the Lost Boys? How was that name created and why? So this is an actual term. I believe the United Nations gave this term. And here would be the article that is in your notes. And we have 30 years ago, the Sudanese Civil War uprooted 20,000 Sudanese children. And this would have been when Salva's story started, 1985. Um, and the reason that these boys would have been on the run, separated from their families, because they would have been at risk to be kidnapped by armed groups or other groups, walking groups, people trying to seek safety would have thought they were enemy combatants. And conscript would mean you're recruited into the army. What things did Salva have to do in order to go to America? Salva had to be processed at a center in Kenya's capital city of Nairobi, and I would add here too, before going to America. He had to have a medical examination and fill out many forms. The workers at the refugee camps also gave him lots of new clothes. Then we had what was surprising as he prepared to go, all the clothes, and that would just be this climate. And also the questions. So we would say, wait, because in here, what was most surprising as he prepared, we would say the most notable things would have been the climate change. The most notable thing would have been the climate change. Salva was very shocked by the amount of clothing he was given by the aid agencies in order to prepare for his travels to Rochester, New York. So remember, he wasn't going to Florida. Rochester is near Buffalo, where I live, which is very known for snow. And who greeted him? His new family, which they weren't really adopting him because obviously Selva's like at this point he was in his 20s. Let me go back to that. So they were more like sponsoring him so that he could be there and have somewhere to live and help him with like learning English, finding a job, those kind of things. And he had said his new family. So technically, they're not adopting him, they're sponsoring him. All right. And then why was it like living in another planet? The weather in Rochester makes Salva believe he is living on another planet. He is also amazed by the snow falling for hours and staying on the ground for several days. How much time has passed? What surprising news does Salva receive? By the time Salva is able to visit his father in Sudan, 6 years have passed since he was living in Rochester. Salva receives news from his cousin that his father is at a United Nations agency hospital. I might fix that. So the one about the news comes first, and it would be 6 years. And I might also add something. We'll add something about the infrastructure. The cars. He was amazed that anyone on foot could cross safely. And the roads. So we could say he is amazed by the cars and the fact that people can cross the road without being hit. He is the electrical infrastructure that makes it possible to have well lit cities is also of great amazement to Salva. There we go. And if you would like to do a free writing, you could write a essay paragraph about what your life would be like if you did not have electrical infrastructure or even sewage infrastructure. So infrastructure is just our roads, our sewer lines that bring water out of the tap and flush away waste, bath water, shower water, laundry, the electrical grid, the Wi-Fi network would be part of that. So you can imagine your day. Ooh, also medicines and technology. Another one. Infrastructure. You need cell phone towers. And last, we would have chapter 17. How is Naya's life going to change now that there is a well in her community? In chapter 1, if we recall, Salvo recalled how his brothers went to school, but his sisters didn't because they had to learn how to keep home. Now remember, that would have been in the 80s. So that would have been Sudan in the 80s. And this is 2008. So we could say that if South Sudan remained a traditional society, but since Naya is going to school, we could say Naya is referencing the traditional role girls in the village had, but her father assures her that she will be able to attend school. So you could say this shows the reader that South Sudan society was taking a modern turn because girls would not be staying at home learning to keep house. And when we have challenges, it's Salva's father. So, very sad. When he meets his father, Salva's father faces the same challenges that Naya's sister faced, such as poor water sanitation and access to healthcare facilities. The water that he was drinking was contaminated with guinea worms, which made him very sick. He had to walk many miles to reach the clinic. Okay, wait, I'll show you what that is. It's not good. So, guinea worms are actually like they're a parasite, and what makes them like really contagious in the water is they actually come out of your skin. So people are drinking the water, but before they went to drink the water, they might have had a worm in their body and then they pulled it out into the water. And it's very painful. In fact, they talk about eradicating this worm, like making it go extinct, because it really doesn't have any beneficial qualities for the environment or the ecosystem. It's just causing great pain to people like Salva's dad. So I'll put that there. This would be how he got this. You have the painful worm, you pull it out of your skin, and then it goes into the water supply, and other people drink it. And then, of course, Salva's dad couldn't get to a healthcare facility because there wasn't one. Because remember that Naya's story taking place in 2008, all of the conflict and the fighting that took place would have basically demolished anything that was built. So the region is still ravaged by the war because if you were going to build a hospital and then you knew that a war was going to be going on and it would just get blown up, people might not, especially like aid agencies that donate money, they wait until a conflict is over before rebuilding takes place. And the problem in South Sudan is our conflict is still going on. So this would be for chapter 17. And we'll finish with our last lesson after.